Hello and welcome. It's yours truly, Brian Earl here, coming from Christmas Past headquarters in sunny San Mateo, California. I hope wherever you are that you're happy and healthy and full of the Christmas spirit, just like I am and my guest is as well. So let's give a nice warm welcome to Alonso in Los Angeles, California. Hi, Alonso. Thanks for being here.
Howdy, it's equally sunny, I'm sure.
Now, Alonso, you may know from watching the YouTube channel and the blog and listening to the podcast that I consider myself a child of the 80s. And I do believe that the 80s were the best decade to be a child at Christmas. However, I was born in the mid 70s. So technically speaking, my childhood was half 70s and half 80s. So we're here today to celebrate that far out decade that we know as the 70s with a game of Christmas trivia. Now, before we begin, I'm sure that you received many 70s-ish toys and gifts as a child. Was there one that sticks out for you as being especially 70s?
Gosh, there was this board game that was called Big Oil, and it was this enormous thing, and you had little oil derricks that you would stick in, and the bottom of the board would constantly move. So depending on what hole you put it in, you would either strike oil or you wouldn't. And so it seemed, thinking back on like the most sort of overpackaged, over plastic thing imaginable, but it was the 70s, so that's how we rolled.
Right on. And I do remember we had a light bright when I was a kid, and probably the most 70s thing you can imagine is on Christmas morning, the light bright pegs getting lost in the shag carpeting.
A definite hazard of the era, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's explain our game. As always, the game goes in 4 rounds with 5 questions each. Each round's questions either follow a similar format or a similar theme. If the questions are multiple choice, I'll just ask that you let me read all of the choices before giving your answer. And of course, along the way, we'll get a chance to know Alonso a little bit better. But for now, Alonso, are you ready for round 1?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, round 1 is Simon Says Beep Boop Beep. I'm talking, of course, about the game Simon, which celebrates its 30th anniversary this year because it came out in 1978. I'm going to ask you some questions about the game of Simon. Let's see how you do. Question number 1. The game was invented by Ralph Baer, who is credited with inventing the world's first video game system. That video game system had a very uninspired name. Was it A, the video game system, B, the video game box, or C, the brown box?
Wow, well, the least inspiring would be C, so I'll go with that.
It was C. Oh, and something I forgot to mention when I gave the rules of the game is that I am able to give bonus points or partial credit at my discretion. Every correct answer is worth 1 point, and no points are taken off for incorrect answers. So with that in mind, I will give you a bonus point if you can tell me why it was called the brown box. Now, of course, it was called the brown box because it was brown, but why was it brown?
It was brown because this is the 70s. Did it have fake wood grain by chance?
Exactly right. That is correct. It was covered in brown wood grain tape. So 2 points. We're off to the races. Simon was inspired by something. Was it A, the video game, the inventor's own confusion with the traffic lights in his native Germany, B, a lesser known video game called Touch Me, or C, that scene in the Close Encounters of the Third Kind where the humans make contact with the mothership?
Ooh. I might be wrong here, but I'll say C.
That is a good guess because that, the boop, 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 boop. But it was actually another game simply called Touch Me that was put out by Atari.
Oh, what?
All right. Simon was an instant sensation as indicated by what? A, it actually debuted at a midnight party at New York City's infamous Studio 54 disco club. B, the game was featured prominently in the visual effects for David Bowie's 1978 World Tour. Or C, Jimmy Carter famously kept one aboard Air Force One.
All plausible. I'm going to say C again.
He may or may not have, but it's not the answer we were going for. It actually debuted at Studio 54. It had a midnight press conference.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. All right. In 2018 dollars, what was the retail cost of Simon when it first came out? And we're rounding to the nearest whole dollar multiple of 5. So in 2018 dollars, would it have cost $25, $55, or $95?
I'll say 55.
It's actually $95, believe it or not. So it was
Oh, no way.
$25 in 1978 money, which is roughly $95 today. So a very expensive gift and one of the hottest selling toys that year.
Wow.
Due to its popularity, Simon inspired a spate of copycats, including which of these? A game called literally The Copycat, B, a less musically pleasing version called The Garfunkel, or C, a game called Omnis, which of course is an anagram of Simon.
I'll go with A.
Correct. It was a game that was just called The Copycat. Of course, because you're supposed to copy the patterns that the game gives, but I guess the irony of that was lost on the game maker. All right, at the end of round one, you have 3 points. Very respectable score going into round two, but let's pause and take a minute to get to know Alonso a little better. Now, Alonso, you are a film critic and an author of the book Have Yourself
Yes.
a Movie Little Christmas, which we're showing an image of that on the screen right now. And anyone interested in more information can find show notes, a link in the show notes below. But Alonso, what is a Christmas movie that most people don't appreciate enough?
Well, interesting. I mean, I think one of the fun things about writing a book on the subject was getting to sort of dig up a lot of fairly obscure ones and some semi-forgotten ones. But I think the one I mentioned that surprises people that it's a Christmas movie is Stanley Kubrick's final film, Eyes Wide Shut. People remember a lot of things about that movie. They remember the Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman scenes. They remember the, masked party, but they tend to forget that it's a Christmas movie. But if you go back and look at that movie, there is Christmas in every scene.
Mm-hmm.
There is, street decorations and Nicole Kidman's wrapping presents and elaborately decorated parties and, lots of lights. And, Kubrick, as we know, never did anything by accident. So clearly it was very intentional on his part to make this such a Christmassy movie.
Now, I have to ask you, as a film critic, are you tired of the question of whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie?
I am, and it is.
And so where do you land on that?
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, look, it's about an estranged husband and wife rekindling their relationship on Christmas Eve. Gift wrap plays a key role in the climax, and the wife's name is Holly.
I sort of wear it as a badge of pride that I've never seen a Die Hard. And at some point, I may as well just bite the bullet. But at this point, it's like I'm fully committed to never having seen Die Hard. So I refuse to take a stand on it. I'll just let everyone else fight it out.
I mean, you're missing out, but I've never seen The Big Lebowski, so it's kind of the same thing.
Hey, have I seen that? Maybe not. I see very few movies, so I wouldn't know. But okay. How about we go to round two? This is one of my favorite games. It is in all of the trivia games here on the channel. Am I jingling your bell? In other words, am I pulling your leg? I'm going to read you 5 statements of things that may or may not have happened in the 70s having to do with Christmas. All you have to do is tell me whether I am telling the truth or jingling your bell. Question number 1. In 1979, an artist named Snowflake released an album called Dear Santa, Let's Disco.
Eerily, that sounds true, so I will say true.
That is absolutely true. And I thought it was going to be a lot more awesome, but it's really just discofied versions of Christmas songs. Kind of is what it is. Question number 2.
It does what it says on the box.
Yeah, right. Hellmann's Mayonnaise ran a holiday recipe in its magazine advertisements where a mixture of mayo, cranberries, and gelatin was used to mold it into the shape of a candle, which was then lit on fire, and it was referred to as a salad.
I'm going to say true.
That is so true. I'm going to see if I can put a picture of that up on the video. And I have to, in fairness, I could not pinpoint whether or not this was originated from the late 60s or the early 70s, but for sure, those ads did run in the 70s. So it's a 70s question as far as I'm concerned, and disgusting either way. I don't know. Which means that if it came out in the 60s and ran into the 70s, it took a couple years for anyone to realize this was a bad idea, right? They did it for more than 1 year in a row. All right.
It was purely theoretical. Someone broke down and made one.
Yeah, right. Question number 3. A live performance of the 1979 comedy song Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer was met with picketers who were protesting the song for being ageist, sexist, and violent.
Weirdly enough, I seem to think that's true.
That is so true. It is absolutely true. And the couple that made the song actually said it ended up helping them out quite a bit. So that was one of their performances. Let's see. Question number 4. The 1970s Sears Wish Book offered a set of 3 embalmed animals in jars for dissecting to, quote, stimulate the science-minded child's natural interest in biology, end quote.
That one is plausible, but I'm going to say you're jingling my bell.
I'm not jingling your bell. You could actually buy... It was a set of 3. I think it was like a frog, a scorpion, and something else. Again, if I have the picture, I'll put it in the video, but that is 100% real. Question number 5. In 1975, a self-help guru named Werner Erhard set a world record for handwriting just under 63,000 Christmas cards in a single year.
Okay, Werner Erhard's a real guy. He used the S to do it, but I'm going to say that one's you're jingling my bell.
And thank you for saying jingling your bell rather than just true or false. But in that case, that was true again.
Oh, man.
It was a clean sweep. They were all true in this round because things were just so bizarre in the 70s. It didn't need any help from me.
You can't make this stuff up.
You cannot. All right. At the end of round 2, we have a total of 6 points. So how does this compare with being on Jeopardy, which you were just a few years ago?
You know what? I think I'm slightly under more pressure here, frankly. No, Jeopardy was fun, and it was thrilling to sort of just get through the process and actually get to go on, even though I didn't win my episode. But it's funny because because I've written this Christmas movie book, I feel like I'm now supposed to know everything about everything. But as you know, Christmas takes us into so many different weird directions and branches off into so many kind of subcategories that I'm going to be okay with myself if I don't, nail this, even though I was born in the late 60s. So I'm totally a child of the 70s.
Mm-hmm. What's something about being on Jeopardy that most people wouldn't know?
Well, if you live in Los Angeles and you get on, they will bring you in just as a backup in case somebody misses their flight, who's coming in from another city. Mm-hmm. So you're literally just there for an entire day in the hopes that somebody, has a travel issue. But even if they don't use you, you at least get to sort of absorb the atmosphere and do some test rounds on the stage and stuff. So it actually is a nice little buffer. So by the time you do go, if you're the person who's the standby, they let you go first when you come back for real. And they shoot an entire week in one day. So all 5 episodes you see in a week were all shot in one day. So everybody has to bring change of clothes.
Mm-hmm. Sounds very interesting. Of course, I'll never experience that for myself, so I'll have to take your word for it. But
never say never.
Never. Unless they have an all of Christmas episode, I will certainly try out for it. All right. How about we go for another round? This one is titled On My Way to Where the Air is Sweet, because of course I am referring to Sesame Street. Now in 1978, we got 2 Sesame Street Christmas specials. There was Christmas Eve on Sesame Street, which came out on PBS, and then 5 days later, a special Christmas on Sesame Street came out on CBS. I'm going to ask you 5 questions about the CBS version. They're all multiple choice. Let's go.
Okay.
Question number 1. The CBS special differed from the PBS special in one striking way. Was it A, all of the Muppets were puppeteered and voiced by Canadian actors? B, it featured only 3 Sesame Street Muppet characters? Or C, Oscar's trademark trash can was red?
I think it was B.
It was B. And that was because when they were creating that special, all of the other puppeteers were busy making the PBS version. So only Big Bird, Barkley, and Oscar the Grouch appeared, but some of the live actors like Mr. Hooper and David and Maria did appear in the special. Okay. Question number 2. Like many TV Christmas specials, the plot of A Special Sesame Street Christmas is modeled loosely on a familiar Christmas story. Was it A, A Visit from St. Nicholas, B, The Gift of the Magi, or C, A Christmas Carol?
I believe it was B.
No, actually, and I know why you think that, because there was a Gift of the Magi plot in the PBS version when Ernie and Bert with the cigar box and the paperclip or something like that. But this one, it was actually loosely modeled on Ebenezer Scrooge's The Christmas Carol. And when I say loosely, I mean really loosely, like Oscar the Grouch was kind of acting like a Scrooge. All right. Question number 3. This special includes some very un-Christmassy shade, including what? Was it A, that Big Bird burns Barkley the dog with a Yo Mama joke? B, Ethel Merman tells Imogene Coca she looks like an idiot? Or C, after Anne Murray finishes a musical number, Henry Fonda turns to the camera and said, "I would have preferred a silent night"?
B and C sound exceedingly plausible. I will go with B, though.
It was B. It was awesome enough that Imogene Coca and Ethel Merman appeared in the same Sesame Street Christmas special, but to make it better, Ethel Merman tells her she looks like an idiot. All right. Question number 4 in this round. Michael Jackson appears as a guest in the special, but what was unusual about his appearance? Was it A, despite it being a musical variety show, Michael Jackson doesn't actually sing anything? B, he appears dressed in the Scarecrow costume and makeup from his appearance in The Wiz? Or C, he's accompanied by Bubbles, his pet chimpanzee?
I'll say A.
That is absolutely true. So Michael Jackson, one of the biggest pop stars going in the late 70s, appears for 44 seconds in the show. He gives Oscar a book, walks off, and that's all we see about him. So that was that. Okay, so there actually is only 4 questions for this round, so let's pause here and take a quick peek at the scores. You are at 9 points. All right. Okay, so we have one more round. This is fill in the blank. Let's just jump right into that.
Okay.
Ready? Question number 1. This brand of superhero-themed underwear that was popular for Christmas in the 70s was described as underwear that's fun to wear.
Those would be underoos.
Underoos. Did you ever have underoos?
I never did. I think I just missed the window where they got embarrassing.
I had Spider-Man ones, and I wore them over my blue sweatsuit, so it almost looked like a full Spider-Man outfit. So I was doing it wrong. I wasn't wearing them as underwear, but having fun.
Superheroes always wear their underwear on the outside, though.
True to form. Okay, question 2. During the 1979 White House tree lighting, only the star on top was lit. President Carter said he would turn on the rest of the lights only after what happened?
Only after the hostages came home.
Correct. Absolutely. Question number 3. Rudolph and Frosty try to save a circus while Santa fights off the evil wizard Winterbolt in the 1976 movie Rudolph and Frosty's blank.
Shiny New Year.
That actually was a movie, but this one I'm referring to Rudolph and Frosty's Christmas in July.
Oh, you're right. Yes.
This musical family sitcom aired a Christmas episode titled Don't Bring Your Guns to Town, Santa, in 1971.
Would that be the Partridge Family?
That would be the Partridge Family. And your last question for this round, this sibling duo released their album Christmas Portrait in 1978.
Oh, the Carpenters.
The Carpenters, correct. So at the end of round 4, we are at 13 points. That is your final score for the game. Very, very good job. Very good score. Thank you so much for playing. But before I let you go, I want to get a chance to ask you how you're going to be spending Christmas this year.
Well, probably like most years. We do a big dinner on the 24th. That's sort of how the Spanish do it. They have a tradition, as I'm sure you know, called Noche Buena. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of friends come over and we make food and they bring food. And then we open presents on the 25th and then let somebody else feed us on the 25th.
Sounds perfect. Well, hey, Alonso, I want to thank you very much for joining me for a game of Christmas trivia, the far out 70s version. Again, everyone, look in the show notes below for links to Alonso's book and some of the other stuff as well. And of course, that's where you can go and leave a comment to tell me that you are interested in playing Christmas trivia with me. And who knows, someday soon, maybe I can put your Christmas spirit to the test. For now, thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Brian. Love the show.